Hi, Mike. Thank you so much for coming on to Everyday Endorphins.
I'm so excited to be on this. Nice to see you again, my best new friend.
I know. I mean, it's crazy because I don't know if it's New York City being a city where there's just high energy and crazy things happen, or if it's just energetically what was going on the day that we randomly met each other in Soho. But I think the way that our paths cross is one of the most unique serendipitous stories ever. So I want to just start off by letting everyone who's tuning in to this interview know how Mike and I met, which is kind of crazy. So I was walking in Soho coming back from a pop-up event, and I saw Mike, you, in the street crossing the sidewalk in a shirt that said something about happiness. Do you remember the exact language?
Happiness supermodel.
Yes, happiness supermodel. And I've kind of been in this era of just going up to people randomly because why not? And so I saw that and I was like, wait, I got to take a photo of this because I love anything happiness related. So I stopped you, asked if you were down for me to take a photo, which a lot of people are like, they don't want that. So I was pleasantly surprised when you were like, yes, let's do it. And you were like, oh, my friend made this shirt.
I don't wear novelty t-shirts, and I met this guy. He was a designer at the time, and he gave me that shirt at an event. And he and I have become like brothers. I love him to death. And his name is Simone. And I put this on one day, not even thinking about it. And every once in a while, people would walk down the street and smile at me. And I couldn't figure out why. And it was the shirt. And that's just the nicest thing. So now I wear it with intention. So I wear it. I know that you're going to evoke that type of response in some people. Although one woman once stopped me. Oh, so happiness is being a supermodel? I said, no. What I'm trying to say is I am a happiness supermodel. I am a model of what a happy person's like. Oh, okay. And you saw it and you just clicked, and then we just clicked. And I think we're just like-minded, high energy, positive people. And all of a sudden, everything else goes away. It's like, it's not guy and girl. It's not older guy, younger. It's just two great energies, just really appreciating each other. And that's what it was. It continued to our conversation at Soho House, and hopefully it'll continue into this podcast.
I loved the message that was resonating from that shirt and your openness and willingness to talk to me about my interest in happiness. And so one thing led to another. And here we are today. We realized that we had so many overlapping interests. Your career, been in the health and wellness space for a majority of your career, and you have passions for that as well. And maybe we also get along because we're native New Yorkers. So that's a critical part of the equation, I'm sure. But here we are today, and it's just such a cool story. And before we dive into getting to learn more about you, Mike, for my listeners, I just want to say that if something is calling you to do something, you should listen to your intuition and do it, because you never know what opportunities will come of that. And I think that actually speaks to what we're going to really focus on today is this idea of being open to opportunity, to experiences, because I think your story is really, representative of all the great things that can emerge from keeping an open mind and an open heart.
Instincts are more often than not completely right. And it's when you talk yourself out of your instincts that you're typically wrong. And some of my biggest mistakes were letting my brain overtake my instincts. And some of my biggest successes were following my instincts like all the way. And your instincts aren't like this fluffy, esoteric, enigmatic type of thing. No, it's a computer that's in your body that's reflecting all the experience you've ever had. It's telling you, here's what to do. And it's telling your heart, but your brain goes, well, I don't know if I should do that. And the brain's usually wrong there.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because oftentimes we let our brain kind of override those intuitive feelings. And it's easy to confuse those with feelings of anxiety that come from your brain telling you to not do the thing you want to do. So it's a hard balance to walk, I think. And what really fascinates me about your perspective in particular around trusting your intuition, following your instincts, is because you've been able to translate that really well into your professional life and into your career. So I want to start there and have you share a little bit about, your career trajectory now fully in entrepreneurship, having your skincare company, Hear Me Raw, kind of what led you to that point. I know you've had a lot of cool inflection points. So
after college, I worked for 5 years, just doing the wrong things, the wrong kind of jobs, went back to grad school and got into marketing and absolutely loved it. And I started this company called Cheeseboro Ponds, which it's now part of Unilever. It's a a CPG company, a consumer packaged goods company. They make beauty products, food products, and laundry products, and all this stuff. And I chose it because it was, of all the places I interviewed at, it was the one place where everyone was different from each other. And I saw these other companies that were, they all looked like this and sounded like this. And I can't fit in like that because I find myself just different. So, but this place, everyone was different. So I fit right in. And I didn't even care what the products were. I just liked the environment. Did realize I'd be working in beauty for 30 years. I mean, I thought it was going to be sports or entertainment at this point. So I was on oral care, then I was on deodorants, then I was on oral care. And for what it's worth, when you're in marketing, the first big leap is when you're the brand manager. So I was brand manager, and my title was brand manager. I was on oral care, which is like toothpaste and mouthwash. Brand manager of other oral. And that was my title, brand manager of other oral. And I can't think of a worse title of other oral because there were two big brands. I had all the other brands like AIM, Pepsi, Signal, all this other stuff. I suppose other anal would be worse, but other oral was pretty bad. So then they put me on Pond's, which is a skincare brand. And I know nothing about skincare. I don't know why women put stuff on with pinkies. I know nothing about this. I was lost for about 2 months, and then it all just started hitting me. You're making women feel great about themselves. It's very creative. It's fast moving. It's trend driven. It's color driven. You work with photographers. You work with models. I think it's a lot better than anything. I mean, I could be working on cat litter. This is what I like, and I wound up being great at it, and wound up quadrupling the business. Won a lot of awards. I was talked about on CNN and Oprah Winfrey and stuff. So then the company was so happy with me that they said, Mike, you're doing so great. We're going to put you on our number one business, detergents. So I got to run the detergent business. It was whisk, all, and surf. So I got to brag to all my friends that I have a $1 billion P&L, and I was miserable. It's not what I want to do. I don't want to spend my life on detergents. So I wound up going to Calvin Klein Cosmetics, and that was also part of Unilever. It was Calvin Klein, Vera, Lagerfeld, Chloe, Valentino, BCBG, Nautica, and was the SVP of all the brands. And then it got to the point where I wanted to stay in beauty. Unilever had nothing else for me. So I decided to go to L'Oreal, who's the best in beauty. And what an incredible, incredible experience. Not easy, tough place, but you learn the importance of execution, the detail that they look at a company like that. And also, they're incredibly strategic. And you wouldn't think that compared to Unilever, but they're incredibly strategic. So I really learned a lot there. But after 3 years, I just felt something was missing. And I realized I wanted to do more in wellness and beauty. I wanted to help people more. I wanted to work with a company that had more of a cause orientation. I cared. I was a very big environmentalist. So that was bothering me. I wanted to work in private equity. So I swear to God, I put it in the spirit world. And this is what I want. I know I'm going to leave. I'm going to find a company like this. And it must have been 2 or 3 weeks, I get a call from Burts Bees. And Burts Bees was now in North Carolina. And it was a very successful but very small company. They make lip balms and skincare and stuff. And I went down there and I loved it. I was there for almost 5 years. When I was there, we bought the company for $177 million. We sold it in 4 years for $950 million. And it was a huge, huge success. And to work with that team and for me to be the CMO, Chief Marketing Officer, and have the vision I had and the company support and just the other geniuses, the brilliant people, at a time when the timing was perfect and the trends in wellness were really getting strong. They were coming in from Japan, they were coming in from Europe. And I just decided, rather than being a quirky, fun brand that happens to be natural, be the best natural brand that's quirky and fun. It's a subtle change, but it's a big change because it shows your intention. And we did fantastic. And then as part of my contract, and we won all these awards, and it was amazing. And then I was going to leave. I had to stay for a year as part of the contract. And now I'm looking at CEO of Fender Guitar, and I'm looking at stuff that is really more me. And then I get offered to be CEO of Bliss, which is global wellness spa skincare company. I was there for 6 years. We sold the parent company for about $925 million. And then after 2 great successes and a lot of time doing this, I said, I am not working for anyone else anymore. I'm done. It's just for me. And I started putting together this brand called Hear Me Raw. And here's Hear Me Raw. And I'll talk more about that later. And in the interim, I was working with Scarlett Johansson, helping her develop beauty line with her, did that for about 3 years and loved her and loved the team. And now it's Hear Me Raw. It's a company that's run by me and my daughter. It's skincare that's powerful because you feel it right away. Plant-based. It's all plant and mineral-based product, sourced globally, made here. Refillable. All the jars have little pop-ups that you can put in and out. And simple. It's only 5 products. A cleanser, a moisturizer, 3 treatments. That's it.
Just hearing your story again now for a second time, I'm like even more amazed by how you've navigated all these changes in your career, but also you've been able to craft like a very strong story around what you do, what you're passionate about. And I think, a lot of people my age, mid 20s, late 20s, are, especially living in New York City or an urban area, are feeling maybe a little burnt out by their jobs or craving a change. It feels like maybe my generation is more, we change our jobs more quickly. And I would love to just hear your perspective and maybe advice on this ability to kind of reinvent yourself constantly, how we're able to do that in a way that still tells this cohesive narrative around our passions, our interests as we think about building our careers. Was there a specific framework or approach that you developed throughout your journey that you'd think may be valuable to people around my age or even a little older too?
It's interesting. This is a really interesting area. Generationally, there's a difference because when I was working, part of success was how long you stayed. And, companies valued loyalty and staying with the company, for longer periods of time. I think there's a difference between it's time for me to go. I've learned what I can learn. I need to learn more things. So you might want to take, if you're a great marketer and you're in this area, and then you say, but I'm not really passionate about this area. I'd like to do it in this area. Then that's a great lateral transition. Now you can work in the area you want to be in. Or say, I don't really like marketing. I want to do finance. So within the area that you're working, you can move. Those are good things. To change just for the sake of change, you're losing the opportunity to learn. And the learning is so important. So many people are doing startups and they fail because they've never worked for anyone before. They've never seen what a structure is like, what a hierarchy is like. And it's important to get those things under your belt. So when you do the startup or you do move to something else, you've got a good support system underneath you. I remember I was presenting to the board of L'Oreal, and they're pretty big people, but the room had a lot of other people in it. There were probably about 25 people in the room. They each had 30 plus years experience in that room. And I'm like, damn, if I could do the math in my head, I think that's like 600, 750 years of experience in this room right here. My God. And there's something to that. And I would say to people, your age, if you're liking what you're doing and you're getting compensated fairly, stay with it. There's no reason you have to leave after 2 or 3 years because everyone else is leaving after 2 or 3 years. You want to be the person who's like, this stuff. You're stronger at this stuff than just jumping because other people are jumping or jumping. Oh, I can make more money doing this. Yeah, but chasing money isn't always the right answer. It usually is not the answer.
That's a really good point around chasing money just for the sake of that. And I found too, like a lot of opportunity has come to me when I really approach the work that I'm doing with passion and with like a desire to learn and to get better at my own craft or deepen my own skill set. And I found that when I've had maybe like other types of extrinsic motivation, it's actually taken away from being present with the work that I'm doing. And it's not to say that we should want a higher salary for ourselves or whatnot. There may be other opportunities out there that are financially better, but I guess it's just a matter of like how you value certain parts of your job, or different parts of your job can give you different things, right? So just figuring out what fits for you.
Yeah, but if you're not, at the same time, if you're not being compensated fairly, well, that's a conversation to have. And you know what the market's like. You know what the other jobs are offering. I think that's a fair conversation to have with your boss. And say, listen, love it here. I love what I'm doing. I want to stay here. I do feel I'm not being compensated, as I should be. I think I should be at this level, and have that conversation. And if they don't give you some type of game plan or something, well, now you have your answer. Now you can do what you want. But at least you were honest and open and upfront about it. I've had my niece, social media, stayed at the company for 6-7 years, and she loved it. She learned a lot. And I have friends who jump every 2 or 3 years, and they jump from startup to startup. And one of my friends, young friends, also in her 20s, everything they promised her never came true. Salary, bonuses, nothing. And she's going from startup to startup. So you know what? Go to a bigger company next time. Don't go because you don't know who these people are. You don't know what financial situation really is.
Exactly. And I guess separate from just this idea of career mobility and moving from one place to another, something that I was thinking a little bit about as you were sharing your story is the lessons that you've learned through your expertise in marketing. And although I don't have any quote unquote traditional experience in marketing, because I come from the world of consulting and now my focus is more in innovation at Accenture, I've now kind of see building everyday endorphins and building this community and the podcast and doing events as this creative case study kind of around marketing and communications. And I feel like I've learned a lot about the way I approach my own life just through how I communicate on this podcast. But I'd love to hear from you as someone who is deep in the industry, how you've seen marketing influence or inform your perspective on life and how you communicate with others and really the importance of storytelling and communication.
That's an interesting question. I think that it's all about storytelling. And the difference is that we used to do the storytelling. Now influencers do the storytelling. It might not be the story you want to tell. And that can be a really great thing. And they might say something, all of a sudden you become viral, your next biggest thing. Or they may not and say something that's irrelevant that doesn't help your cause at all. But that's been the big change, is not really being in control of the narrative. It's allowing the outside world to tell the narrative and give them the tools as best you can to tell it. But it is a very, very big difference. And it's a much bigger challenge. And also and now you're seeing the role of influencers are changing. There's some that were effective, aren't effective anymore. Now people are kind of questioning, is this really authentic or not? So I have to say it's a harder game now than it was.
I guess with the rise of social media, technology, influencers, that probably changes the landscape around traditional marketing. We're probably moving away from that with influencer marketing. It sounds like it's a completely different ball game now.
Right. The other part of your question is, so how do you look at things? You do look at how things are branded. Like I just wrote an article on Donald Trump, and I'm not going to go into it in too much detail, but you look at the brand that he's created. What is this brand? This brand that shows ultimate success, ultimate masculinity, do this, you can live this incredible, powerful, rich, macho lifestyle. And that's his brand. And that's really admirable that he was able to create that. The article goes on to other things, but I do look at things like how are things branded. I do look at what's the objective of this. Like with a lot of things in work, what's my objective? I know I'm doing something, but why am I doing it? Towards what end? And that's one thing I keep imparting to the people I work with. Do a social campaign or an email campaign. What's the objective? What are we trying to do here? When you think what the true objective is, you might change what you do. That's something that always stays with me.
Yeah, I mean, bringing up branding is really interesting. It's got me thinking a little bit about this concept of building your own personal brand, which I think is now becoming a more popular concept, especially for the younger generation. What comes to mind for you when you think about building a personal brand?
It has to be authentic to you. It can't be an aspirational version of you. It has to be an authentic version of you. That's aspirational, and it should be obvious in their minds as it is in your mind. So someone would go, he's a renegade, out there, unrepentant, but passionate, loving leader. That's it. But I remember once going through this course where they evaluate you for a week. It's very intense. And right away she goes, yep, you're the rugged individualist. Can't put you in a box. And you have to embrace it. I think, but what's really important, and I can't emphasize this enough, is I learned this at this course. You really have to embrace your strengths much more than you give yourself credit to. Most people are hard on themselves. I'm hard on myself. I can say right now, I'm incredibly creative. I'm an amazing public speaker. And I can say also, you have to embrace what you're horrible at. I am completely disorganized to the point where I have to spend so much time on organizing and to-do lists. And people say, oh no, you seem organized. No, those are my crutches. If I don't do this, I just float away. I put my calendar to the half hour. I plan my calendar to the half hour every day. Because if I don't do that, I can go off on an ad campaign I want to do and miss some important things. So you have to embrace what you're great at and embrace and acknowledge what you suck at. And you want to spend time focusing on what you're best at and what you love doing. And do not spend time on what you suck at and hate doing. And the problem is, at school, at work, you're always told, hey, Stella, you're great at this, you're great at math and science, but you're really not good at English. So you really need to spend your time on English in this. And at work, they tell you the same thing. Mike, you're so creative, you're so this, but you need some more, more time in operations. For me to spend my time in operations when I could be creating great advertising campaigns, great brands, great messages is the worst use of my time, right? To tell an artist, at an ad agency, big creative, you just spend more time understanding finance, then he's not creating the next great campaign. And it's the worst advice you can get. When I said, you're great at this and you're great at this, let's have you do that. I'll find someone else who's great at the other stuff and have them do that. That's how to run a company. That's how to run an organization. But I don't want to give someone like in a company, you give someone the review. Well, if you're great at these three things and suck at these two things, I get someone else to do this. You get all A's. I don't want someone to play every position because it's not going to be that great. I want to have the best forward, the best guard, the best center.
It's like capitalizing on your strengths and leaning into those, because I think that when you dedicate your time towards the things you have some natural ability to be good at, or maybe you just are passionate about it, therefore you spend more hours on it and you get better, you're more likely to do better in your output. And then that kind of creates this loop where then you see yourself, you're proving to yourself, oh, I can do this a good job at this. And I now feel motivated to keep going. So it's this positive upward spiral.
And there's also like this arrogance that you have to fight. Like when you're asked to do something that you don't like, you do because I can do it. I know I can do it. I don't like doing it. And the truth is, like you said, without that zeal to do it great, it's not going to be done great. So you have to say, you know what? Yeah, I don't want to do that, and be okay with that.
Yeah. You've been in a variety of leadership roles throughout your career. Now you're your own boss with Hear Me Raw. I would love to learn a little bit more from you around some of, your biggest lessons that you've learned on leadership. I think being a good leader, being a good people leader is a really tough job to have, actually, because humans are complex. And it's like, well, how do we keep other people motivated and feeling good and feeling a sense of purpose from what they're doing? And I've noticed in my own experience, the best leaders that I've worked with are the ones that show a genuine interest and care in the work that's being done, and then the people that are doing the work and treating them from a human perspective. And so I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on that and really what makes a good leader.
It's really interesting. There's a scene in the movie Training Day where Denzel Washington says, I got 5 guys who work for me. That's 5 problems I've got. Every employee you have, their number one focus is themselves. So how do you get some of that on your side? Yeah, they're focused on their career, their money, it's on them. Interestingly, the most effective CEOs, by and large, were jerks. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Howard Schultz from Starbucks. No one would say they were loving human beings. What made them different? They had a vision, and nothing, no employee, nothing is going to take them away from their vision. Nothing. And that's something interesting. It's all about the vision. What they did was get people excited about the vision. Be willing to take the shots. Be willing to stand up to the leader and have a leader say, I'll let anyone challenge me. But until I say otherwise, here's where we're going. We don't have to agree, but we have to align, right? But when the worker, and I've done this more times than I care to admit, when the boss is worried about hurting someone's feelings and doesn't go with their gut and doesn't go what they think and allows them to do it and it fails, you hate yourself. And you did a disservice to the company. You did a disservice to the employee because you didn't allow the employee to learn that the other way, what you thought was better, is better. Now, sometimes you let the employee do it just to see if it works and see maybe you're wrong. But if it's something that's critical, I've done that too many times than I care to admit. But you want to have a powerful vision. You want to get people excited behind it. They can talk about it. We can argue about it. But it's like, imagine it's the last play in an important football game, and the quarterback calls for a pass to that guy, and the running back goes, but no, I should take the ball because I know I can score. He goes, no, we're going to do the pass. Well, I'm not playing that. You don't want a guy like that. You want a guy goes, I think I should take the ball, but you know what? I'm going to play my heart out to make that pass happen.
Yeah. Well, okay. So for me personally, the football reference did not resonate because I'm not a big sports person, but I'm sure other people out there will understand.
Yeah, maybe. Because Good analogy, wrong audience. Sorry about that.
No, very good analogy for probably most people, except for myself. I think I'm the exception. However, I will say that's a really profound point on getting people to buy into a vision. So then the question is, well, how do we get people to do that? As a leader, how do you get people to be aligned? How do you get them excited about something you're excited on? And I think maybe it comes back to this point on authenticity that we were talking about earlier.
Well, it's that. It's also how important your role is in making this happen. I can't get this done without you. What you bring to this is this. It's not like cult of personality. Here's where we're going. Who's ever with me, with me. Whoever's not, like, jump off the boat. I need you to help me make it. Now you feel you're vested in this, and I'm counting on you. So now we have a social contract. We have a financial contract, and because you'll be compensated for this. And then we've got this thing that we're creating. So there's a lot that's in it for the person if they know their role in it, as opposed to whatever the guy said, we're just going to do it because he's the boss, because that doesn't work.
Yeah, then it feels maybe transactional, or you don't feel like you have that personal stake in the game. That's probably what I was actually referencing more so around like being a human-centric leader. So you have this vision, but there's tactics and strategies from like a psychological perspective, and not like in a manipulative way. Like if there's true authenticity and excitement behind this shared vision, I think one of the best feelings in the world is when you have people on board and you see that vision coming to fruition and coming to life. And I'm sure there have been multiple moments in your career where you've been a part of that and driving that.
And that's exactly it. Like, if everyone knows their contribution is necessary, it's important, that the work that's being done is excellence, getting us there, all those things, all that type of feedback is so important because you feel you're part of it. And I think like at Burts Bees and at Bliss, especially Burts Bees, that was like very that was mind blowing what happened. People saw things they never expected. I remember they had done one launch in 2 years, and it was another type of lip balm. And I said, we're going to do 33 products for the next 3 years, 33 products a year. And there's no way we can do this. There's no way we can do this. Like, guys, I need you. Trust me. I want to help you. And we did. And after the first year, I go, how many people thought we'd be able to do all those products? And no one raised their hand. How many are happy that we did them? And they all raised their hand. So you get people inspired. You show them the way. And they realize they're learning. They're growing. They're part of something big. And, everyone got rewarded. And that was like a beautiful thing. But Bliss was the same thing.
As you were sharing that, I was thinking about how the psychology around getting people to buy into this shared vision, I think requires you as a leader to show up for yourself first so that you can be, the best version of yourself for the people that work under you. And when we talk about showing up for ourselves, that is taking care of ourselves. That's our wellness practices. That's keeping ourselves healthy and happy and feeling fulfilled. So as a leader, how did you balance that? And how do you presently take care of yourself so that you can be the best version for the people that you work with?
That is such a great point. And whether it's a big company or it's a startup, when you're on a higher level from a hierarchy standpoint, people see you on the Jumbotron. They see you like in Times Square, and your presence means more to them. If you're walking around showing stress, unhappiness, anger, the place shakes. If you go around cool, determined, focused, happy, powerful, the company feels great. They feed off of you. And like you said, it's like on the airplane, if there's lack of oxygen, give it to yourself before you give it to the kid, because the kid's no good unless you're good. You have to be, and you're setting an example every day. I have a pretty interesting, different type of wellness practice. Like I think I told you, this morning I did my Japanese breakfast. So I make a Japanese breakfast 2 or 3 days a week, which is grilled salmon, miso soup, and cooked vegetables and pickled vegetables. And it's most amazing. Your energy level is like this. It's just on a straight line at a high, and it'll last me till dinner. And that helps. I exercise in the morning, and that helps. And I have my day planned out from the night before, so I can start the day feeling fantastic. And one thing I never do, I never look at emails in bed. If I wake up, I'll do Wordle, I'll do connections, and I'll do strands and the crossword puzzle. The crossword puzzle I do that before, but never emails. Because if I look at emails in bed, they're either going to be garbage emails, work I need to do, maybe some challenges or some bad news, and there might be some good news. It's not worth all the crap, work that needs to be done, and bad news while you're at your weakest state in the morning. But if I work out, shower up, have my great breakfast, I start off with this little peak state statement. It's the whole Tony Robbins thing, which I can talk to you about. I feel I can control anything. I can face anything. So now I look at my emails. I'm approaching them from a point of strength. In bed, I'm at my weakest state. So I would tell everyone, whatever you do not look at your emails until you are 100% ready.
I love that piece of advice. I was actually just talking about this on a separate podcast interview, just around putting yourself in like micro moments of induced stress that you know are going to end. So, like, for example, working out's a great example because you're putting your body under some physical stress and some strenuous activity, but then you prove to your body and to your brain, like, oh, I can accomplish this. I feel so much more confident. I feel great. You're like operating on a different frequency. And then you can approach like the real challenges in life from a place of calmness and confidence, like knowing you can basically deal with whatever comes your way. And so the mornings for me as well are very sacred. And I find that when I prioritize myself in the mornings, starting, waking up early, getting in morning sunshine, getting in some physical activity, moving my body, making a delicious breakfast, like doing these things that fill up my cup and bring me joy and happiness. Then I come to my laptop and I'm like, okay, I'm ready and I'm excited and it's going to be a good day. So I really do think the morning can set you up for success for the rest of the day.
I could not agree more. And it's funny, Monday is usually my best day.
Wow, that's a hot take.
I know it sounds weird. It's my best day because it's my most productive day. Because I have Friday's over. I've already gone through everything over the weekend. Sunday night, I prepare for Monday. I'm set. Now as the day goes on, things happen and things could change. And, so Tuesday becomes almost as good. Wednesday becomes a little bit crazier. Thursday, I'm trying to retie, and Friday, you tie everything up, But Monday starts off as the best day. One thing I want to tell you, I was invited by, Tony Robbins.
Love Tony Robbins.
So I met him, and he invited me to one of his seminars for free. So I go there, and I realize right away I'm going to write notes with a line down the middle. Is what I'm learning about myself and all this, and what a great con he's got going. I mean, it's just amazing how they use people to get into the next thing, to next thing, to next thing. But putting all that stuff aside, I also learned stuff. And he has this thing called peak state. How do you get yourself in peak state? Peak state. Peak state is doing all those things. He does a cold plunge in the morning, which I'm not going to do a cold plunge. But I do this mantra in the morning. And it sounds so corny. I never thought I'd be the guy to do this type of thing. But after all this, before I open the emails, I have it on my screen, you plant your feet down, and everyone has their own. And you start with this power motion, with your hands out like this. Hey, today's going to be an amazing day. Today's going to be an amazing day. Today's going to be, and you keep doing it. And then you say, it's going to be an amazing day because today I'm going to do this. I'm going to complete this. I'm going to stop this. I'm going to start this, whatever it is. I'm not going to drink. Today, I'm going to finish that email that I needed. Today, I'm going to start on this major project. And then it goes through a couple of other things, like what your mission in life is and the things that you stand for. I am positivity, I'm determination, I'm confidence, I am love. And you keep going through this mantra until you feel it. And sometimes it is like it takes you one time saying it, you want to take your chair and throw it across you because you're ready to dive in. And sometimes it takes no, I'm not there yet. Get into it. But when you get there, you're on such a high plane that when you go after your work, you're like, get the F out of my way because you can't stop me. And it's an amazing feeling. I never thought I'd be the guy to be doing this. I've been doing it for, what now, 12 years?
Yeah, there are so many benefits to reciting positive affirmations. And yes, it can sound cheesy and corny and whatnot, but the science is there. And it's actually really basic if you think about it. The inner dialogue that you have in your mind, a lot of it's living rent free in your head too. And a lot of it's very critical thoughts that we're not even aware of. Like when we let that dictate our behavior, we create a not so positive reality. But it's so important to be intentional, which is why we have to take that extra step and like explicitly say these mantras, because then you start to prime your brain to believe it and then you attract that. And Mel Robbins actually says something great. I've seen tons of clips on TikTok with her sharing this which is essentially what you said. But she talks about how in order to be the person you want to become, you need to just start acting like it. And it's not fake it till you make it, but you need to just take action that aligns with what that version of yourself would do. And the more you do that, the more it becomes a habit. And the first step is just starting. If you consider yourself as a healthy person and you think about people who are healthy in your mind, you'd probably analyze their behaviors. And one of their behaviors is probably that they have a consistent physical activity workout routine. So if you want to become that person, then you have to create the time to just go and do that and go and work out. Instead of making excuses, just take the aligned action, because then you become the person that you want to be. And I find that writing down those affirmations or visualizing what I want for myself in my life or making vision boards or like all these practices for me have helped manifest so many amazing opportunities in my life that I'm so grateful for. And again, it's not the same thing as like just thinking something into existence and it comes to be. That I don't believe in that, but I do think that our brains and our thoughts and the energy we put out there is so powerful that we need to capitalize on it. Like we need to incorporate that into our lives.
Absolutely. We're so much more in control of our energy level and our positivity than we think. And if you start off the day feeling kind of crappy, didn't eat rice, feel a little bit guilty about that, you open an email, you go, oh God, I can't. Today's going to be horrible. That's how you can start your day. You can start your day. Today's going to be an amazing day, and let nothing get you down. And just for the benefit of your listeners, I didn't grow up this way. I'm a street kid from the Bronx. I'm not this type A tech bro, whatever. In fact, we were talking before, I was asked to join this gym. It's like the state of the art, crazy price thing. We have cold plunges and red light sauna. And it's an amazing thing. But that's not who I am. I go to a boxing gym, I play basketball on Thompson Street, and I bike on the West Side Highway. So I'm not like one of these stereotypical, but you learn tools. And if the tool's good, don't be a snob about it and don't be an anti-snob about it. If it's tool's good and it can work for you, do it. I never in my life thought I'd be doing mantras. I tried meditating, doesn't work for me. I've tried other things, doesn't work for me. I'm not looking for the next shortcut, but when you learn something and it works, do it. You look at like the best athletes and the best performers, they think they're the best. If they don't think they're best, they want to be the best. I mean, you listen, they think they're the greatest. They really, like any basketball player, football player, boxer, and business people. If you can't say I'm the best at something, there's something wrong, because everyone's the best at something. When I was at that seminar and I was learning about myself, the woman said to me, so you think you're creative? I go, oh, yeah, I'm pretty creative. She goes, Mike, the people in your company think you're like the most creative person, like they look up to you. I said, yeah, get compared to them, but I look up at artists and musicians. She goes, Mike, you're not an artist or a musician. Don't compare yourself to them. You have to look at your field. How are you in your field? I said, oh, pretty damn good at that. So you have to embrace it. And humility is great, but if it holds you back from you being able to do your best at something, then it's a problem.
So well said. I mean, isn't it crazy how we really are our worst critics, and we don't see our own selves in the same way that other people see us? And I think Pharrell Williams said this. I have it on my notes app somewhere because I heard him speak during some film event, maybe it was a few years ago. Anyways, he made a comment about how in order for him to have gotten to where he's at in his career, he's always had to have like a healthy dose of delusion. And I loved that. And it stuck with me because to an extent, like, I think you do need to have that, to your point about these athletes, like they thought they were the best. I mean, they probably didn't start out the best, but they became the best because they thought it. So it's important that I think we strike this balance of healthy delusion. And what that looks like also is still having humility and not letting your ego completely, take the driving seat behind the wheel. So it's something I kind of come back to as well, this concept of having a healthy dose of delusion.
Yeah, I like that. I never heard that before.
Permission to take it. But what I was saying before that I want to get back to around like curating your environment, bringing things into your space that bring you joy, that kind of light you up. The other night, I used a mask from Hear Me Raw that you so graciously gifted to me. And that was one of the highlights of my night, was having my friend come over and we made tea and we did face masks and we had a little slumber party and it was fantastic. And so I want to hear a little bit more. I want to turn it back to you, Mike, and have you share your inspiration to starting your own skincare company. I know that's where you focused in a lot of your career in beauty, but what was the desire to build something of your own? And I know that you work with your daughter. Let's talk a little bit about those dynamics, the father-daughter work relationship, because I don't know if I could do it with my dad, but it would probably be fun too.
Yeah, I really didn't even want to go back into skincare, into beauty, but I was just so tired that there are brands that are still making products. Most brands make products with ingredients which shouldn't go on your face, packaging which isn't sustainable, making claims they can't keep, prices too high, and products you don't need. And the answer has always been fewer products, plant-based, sustainable. The average woman uses about 6 or 7 skincare products. 60% of women complain about their skin. So right away, that's telling you the more products you use, the less happy you are. Why? Because you don't know if the cleanser, moisturizer, toner, treatment, moisturizer, when you use all of them together, do they exacerbate problems, cause problems? Do they cancel each other out? You don't know. And the truth is, if you have clean, healthy skin and your skin's moisturized, that's 90% of what you need. It truly is 90% of what you need. And if it's done right, if it's plant-based, because a lot of moisturizers are petrochemical based, and that's really bad. It's like putting saran wrap on your face. Then if you need a treatment, whether it's oily skin or anti-aging or for lack of a better, or you just want to like revitalize your skin, yeah, use a treatment for that. But try to keep it down to that and a sunscreen just to help prevent from aging. So we came with this line. It's 5 products. It's a cleanser and a moisturizer. The cleanser is up for Best Cleanser Award in our industry. We'll find out in November. It's called Good Clean Fungi. And Good Clean Fungi is a quadruple mushroom facial cleanser. It uses oyster mushrooms, reishi mushrooms, chaga, and tremolo mushrooms. And you can see from the consistency, like just beautiful, and little specks in there of jojoba beads to help exfoliate. And when you finish one of these, you pop this out, recycle this, get a new one, pop it in. So you save money in the environment. So you cleanse it with this. Our moisturizer is the hydrator, and the hydrator is made with prickly pear, which is cactus flower, because nothing retains water better than cactus. And it has Mexican poppy stem cells, mackey berry, coconut water, watermelon oil, cucumber. It's super hydrating. It helps bring moisture to the skin. It helps keep moisture from leaving your skin. As I said before, most moisturizers use like propylene glycol or PEGs, PEG, and it's just petrochemicals. And they do it because when you put oil on your skin, the moisture can't leave. But it also suffocates your skin. It causes breakouts. It causes a whole bunch of problems. And it's not natural. Then we have 3 treatments. Here's the one I think you tried, the brightener. The brightener is like a brightening, radiance enhancing, I hate using the word anti-aging mask. It's made with chlorophyll, matcha green tea, spirulina. It's like this gooey green stuff. Chlorophyll, spirulina, matcha green tea, lemon peel, glycolic acid, lactic acid, and bakuchiol, which is natural retinol. You put this on for 10 minutes, your face will tingle, and that's the oxygenation of the skin, the exfoliation of the skin. And then you wash it off after about 10, 15 minutes, and you put the pink stuff on. And then finally, the last 2, we have the clarifier. And the clarifier is for oily skin, a skin with enlarged pores, clogged pores, acne breakouts, and it's made with French green clay. How beautiful that is. And French green clay is a natural antibacterial absorption agent. So unlike most acne-fighting products, which use synthetic antibacterial, this is a natural antibacterial. It has sea kelp and turmeric to reduce inflammation. It has lavender, avocado oil to help moisturize and soothe, neem leaf powder to soothe. It's an insanely good product. That one you put on for like 15 minutes, and when it's dry, you rub it off, and it all flakes off your skin. You wash off the rest and put pink stuff on again. And then the last one is a detoxifier, which is a charcoal mask to help polish, purify, and detoxify your skin. And the one thing, by the way, this works the same way. You put it on for 10 or 15 minutes, wait for it to dry, rub it off, wash the rest off, and then put the pink stuff on. I see so many brands that say they're natural. You open up and they're all white. And I just don't know how that happens. If you're putting in chlorophyll, spirulina, matcha green tea, and your product's not green, if you're putting in watermelon oil, mackey berry, and prickly pear, and your product's not pink, you're not using natural ingredients. And that whole thing is a bunch of, so much of what people say is natural is not natural, naturally inspired, naturally derived. There's a lot of game playing in this industry, which is kind of nauseating to me. And on the sustainability front, because we use the refill pods, you keep the glass, you keep the lid, We use about 86% less packaging than our competitors. In our industry, in the beauty industry alone, every year, 1 billion pieces of packaging material winds up in landfills. Every year, 1 billion pieces. Everything should be refillable. Everything should be. So that's why we're doing this. That's the only reason why I'm doing this. And I chose to do it with my daughter, and she lives up in Connecticut, so it's mostly virtual. Someone asked me, like, do you guys fight a lot? I was dating someone, and she asked me, do you guys fight a lot? I don't remember having a fight with my daughter. As an adult, I don't remember ever having a fight with her because I love her, and I want what's best for her. And we'll have hard discussions. We'll have big disagreements on the business, but it's business. She has the freedom to challenge every part of my thinking. I remember we hired someone to do social, a new person to do social, and we're having our first meeting. She's watching me and Emma disagree about it. She was shocked. And I said, no, this is healthy. At the end of the day, we have very few brains in this place, right? At L'Oreal, you've got whole teams. We've got very few people here. We need to exhaust the thinking and the ideas and the challenges so that when we make the decision, we're making the right decision. So I love this stuff. It can be frustrating sometimes, but I love it. But fighting, no. But what's helped me do also is, well, I should also say, my daughter Emma and I, we share a brain. So you always know what the other one's thinking.
Telepathy.
Yeah. If we were to play a game against like categories or charades against any two people, we'll kill them. We'll just look at each other and the other one will get the answer. But our personalities are different, and our taste levels are different, and our things that are more creative or subjective are different. And that's the hard part because there's no right or wrong to creative. So our plan is, if it's your call, I'll tell you what I think, passionate as I can. If you still think you're right, you do it. Same vice versa. But what's helped me do also with the other people I work with on the team, am I treating her different? Am I treating her differently because she's my daughter? Should I be treating them nicer or treating her more sternly? And when I'm at my most honest, I'm treating them all the same. And I keep that in my mind kind of subconsciously as I manage to make sure everything is fair and balanced and even. It's not like, it's Emma, so she gets a free ride. No, she doesn't. So that's very much in mind. And I think everyone feels like it's a family thing. We start our weekly statuses. First 15 minutes is the weekend. What do you do this weekend?
I think that's the best. And you're so right around like conflict being a good thing, actually. And you're creating an environment where it feels safe to speak your mind and to challenge another person's perspective and point of view. And maybe it's a little easier to do that because of the father-daughter dynamic where, from the family front, like, you love each other and whatnot. It's very different than working, having coworkers that are not your family. But how do we mimic that kind of environment when it's two non-family members working together and creating a psychologically safe space where you can feel like your opinion and perspective is valued and respected, but also if someone criticizes it, they're not criticizing you, but the idea. It's not personal to you. It's about the business. It's about those objectives and those goals.
I do this. I've seen this. The most frustrating thing for a team leader is when people aren't honest and they're scared that you're going to disagree with them. They're scared that they might get into trouble, whatever. I mean, to raise a different point of view. That's the worst place you want to be. And I've been in places, I remember this one small time at one of my places where I just felt they were all saying yes to me and just to make me happy. And I was wondering, is it something that I'm doing? Am I making it intimidating or not? But there's always the youngest person in the room. I kept saying to her, what do you think? And please tell me. And if you don't tell me everything you're thinking, knowing I might not agree with you, and people say that they're always worried about if I don't agree with them, is that a bad thing? No, it's not a bad thing. But the worst thing that could happen is if you had an idea that you didn't share because you were scared, and my competitor does it first, you did a disservice to the company, you did a disservice to me. You hurt the growth of our company. You hurt your own compensation, if you think about it that way, if you go all the way down the line. So get it all out there. And then if I choose not to do it, it's on me, right? But at least you said it. I remember I was at L'Oreal once, and we would have our meetings, monthly review meetings, and they could be intense. I mean, they could be really intense. And the CEO, Jean-Paul Gane, and I were going at it. And, I'm a VP, he's a CEO. And it wasn't, I told him what I thought, I was passionate about it, but I didn't get over the top. It was, but there was tension in the room, and he finally said, "I need a coffee break." His thick French accent. So we go out, and I was respectful, but I had a point of view, and I said, "Jean Paul, we cool?" He goes, "No, Mike, I love you. You've got passion. You're smart. You show what you think." But I said, "Do you seem angry?" "Yeah, because everyone there, they're scared. They don't say anything." And that's what his frustration was. He wants to have it out. At the end, we do it, and then let's hug and then make it all happen. And that's key.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite stories that you've shared with me, even offline before this podcast interview. So, moral of the story, be honest, be authentic, lead with empathy. I mean, there's so many takeaways that I've gained from just this interview, but also meeting you and getting to spend more time with you. And so I am confident that everyone who tunes into this is going to really have, monumental takeaways for themselves. And I'm just so grateful that we got to do this and you were able to come onto the podcast and that we serendipitously met each other. And Mike, there's one final question that I have for you. Well, two short ones that I have for you. The first one that I'm going to ask is a question that I ask everyone on the podcast. And I would love to hear from you. What is something that brings you a bit of endorphins every day? I know you mentioned the positive affirmations and you're really into your fitness routines, working out, boxing, all those things. But what's something that just sparks your joy every day?
When you're plugged in, I call it being plugged. When you're plugged in, when you're open and honest and let that positive energy out, the things that happen, the level of serendipity of beautiful things that happen, ramp up incredibly. To walk down the street, like I was walking down Spring Street the other night, I'm walking past Balthazar, and there's a bodyguard out there or whatever, and we look at each other and go, "Man, you've got great energy." The guy's name is Bruce, and I never met him, and we're talking for 15 minutes. Like that to me means like you're on another level, and that was like with you, like we're on another level at that point. You're not just being, you're feeling, and you're in an energy space. I know it sounds trippy, and it's not the type of guy I am, but like when you're plugged in, these amazing things happen all the time. That is my sense, how I get my endorphins.
I love that. And it's very full circle because that moment that we met on the street, I remember that interaction in the morning, like completely changed the course of my day. I was so happy and all these other great things started to happen that day. So it really is this like positive domino effect. And I love that answer. So thank you for sharing that. My final question now is where can my followers try out Hear Me Raw? Where can they get their own product?
Go on hearmeraw.com. That's the best way. It's HEARMERAW, hearmeraw.com. Right away, you get 15% off on your order. I would suggest get Good Clean Fungi. You will absolutely love it as your cleanser. I kind of told them all what's best for you, but if you have to try one, try that, or try the brightener as a radiance enhancing mask, or the hydrator as your moisturizer.
It's a great way to unwind in the evenings, is doing skincare and feeling those little luxuries in life. That was definitely a big endorphin boost for me the other night. So thank you again for the presence and for coming on to the podcast. It was so lovely getting to speak with you today.
You're wonderful. I mean, if you were on the Dow Jones, I'd invest in you. I'd buy stock in you because I know it's going to pay off big. It's paid off big already, but it's going to pay off even bigger because you're dynamic and you're incredible. And to have that level of positivity and happiness and energy and brilliance, what you do is just pretty special.